Hey guys, I've got a reservation for the next 2 nights in Joshua Tree National Park, a campsite reservation. So I'm going motocamping at Joshua Tree, and I'm taking you along with me. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. So the first step is to get all the gear I need packed onto my bike. You might think that being restricted to taking only what you can fit on a motorcycle means you have to do without some of the usual comforts of a well-stocked campsite, but I don't think that's the case. I have all the typical camping accoutrements. Everything is just downsized. That and the Suzuki V-Strom is such a capable machine, for a price that's a mere fraction of the cost of some of the European-made adventure motorcycles. It has the capacity to haul all my gear, the power to hold its own with any of the big adventure bikes, and the comfort to do long miles all day. On top of that, they're quite reliable. Mine has over 67,000 miles currently, and I've only done routine maintenance and replacement of usual wear items. I think it's one of the best values one can find in a motorcycle. It'll do everything pretty well. If you're going to own only one bike, a V-Strom is a great choice in my experience. I decided I would take the Palms to Pines highway on my way out to the desert, as riding on the high-speed slab just wasn't really what I was looking forward to at the time. It's on roads like this that motorcycling most feels like flying. The trip on that road takes you up over a mile high, actually crossing over 6,000 feet above sea level at one point. And I was surprised to find snow up there, but not on the roads. Joshua Tree National Park is located in Southern California, east of Los Angeles near Palm Springs. Originally declared a national monument in 1936, Joshua Tree was redesignated as a national park in 1994 when the U.S. Congress passed the California Desert Protection Act. It encompasses roughly 1,235 square miles of preserved desert landscape. It is about 60 miles long, measured end to end on its longest dimension. To give you some idea of its size, this is what it would look like if you plopped Manhattan Island on top of it. I love parks like this because they harken back to a time when Americans and our leadership were interested in preservation rather than conservation. To me, there's a difference, as conservation implies the land is for our use, whereas preservation speaks to the land's innate right to exist for its own sake. The campground I chose to stay at is called Cottonwood Springs Campground, and is located on the southeastern corner of the park. But before I got to Joshua Tree, my journey was going to take me through the small mountain resort town of Idlewild. Idlewild is roughly a mile high up the San Jacinto Mountains. Idlewild is set among tall pines and sweet-smelling cedars, and is a quaint little town full of shops and restaurants. As I continue my journey past Idlewild, the landscape slowly turns from the tall pines to the desert. I was having such a good time riding when I noticed that the sun was going down. I needed to get to Joshua Tree and get my camp set up. I arrived with only 10 minutes or so of daylight to set up my camp, but I got it done. Okay, so I'm here at the campground in Joshua Tree, and I'm trying to speak quietly because I do have neighbors. It is a group campground, although individual sites, and just trying to be respectful of everybody else's peace and quiet. What can I say? I'll try to take a photograph and show you the sky. The stars are out of this world. I really can't describe it, especially when you live in the city where there's so much light pollution and you see stars like this. I mean, the stars in between the stars and then the stars in between those. Amazing. Had to get here. You know, we're within daylight savings time here in the United States, so I had to set up camp sundown was at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, so I had to get in here early. I barely made it because I had a beautiful ride on the way here, kind of took the long route, so to speak, and tried to stay off the high-speed slab as much as I could. And it was just a lovely day of riding, although I got a late start because I was trying to wait for a camping chair that I had ordered, a small portable one, and Amazon was trying to deliver it the second time, and just couldn't get it there on time. So I'm sitting on a bundle of firewood, and then firewood. I got my camp set up, but you got to bring in firewood. They don't have it for sale here in Joshua Tree. So set up camp, then hopped on the bike and rode into a nearby town to buy a couple bundles of firewood and just strapped them onto the bike and brought them back. So, hey, more to come tomorrow. For now, it's campfire and stars. If you like motorcycles, custom builds, or just like a good story about a man's 3-year effort to build a tribute to his childhood teacher, get a copy of Creating Mr. Corton. In it, you'll learn how this man changed this man for the better, how this man took this and built this, how these guys became lifelong friends and enthusiasts of motorcycling and craftsmanship, and how the name Urban Monk originated. It's available from Amazon anywhere in the world that Amazon ships, in both paperback and ebook, or you can purchase through a link found on urbanmonktv.com. Get your copy of Creating Mr. Corton today. Morning. Birds. Kind of a nice small little amphitheater built in here by the Cottonwood campground where I'm staying. And it's nice, I think the local thespians probably put on presentations and reenactments of Rodney Dangerfield's Back to School. Only half of that statement is true. Found this cool stream bed to walk in as I'm heading up this hill in front of me. And clearly water has flowed through here at one point, although the only water I can see I'm carrying. This is an interesting find for me. This is a juniper bush. The juniper berry is a good ingredient in some cooking, like I'll throw them in carnitas, which is a pork dish, like a braised pork dish. But they are edible. They have a pretty strong flavor. But you drop a few of those into a slow cooker with some pork and other seasonings, and you can have some really good carnitas and or barbacoa, pretty much. What's interesting about this is I'm down here at a pretty southern latitude in the United States, desert climate, and I find this bush, but my parents had 2 juniper bushes in front of our house in Fargo, where temperatures get down to I remember delivering my paper route, and it was 40 below Fahrenheit and wind chill and 95 below. Of course, junipers don't feel wind chill, but I did. And so I was surprised to see a juniper tree here. Kind of fun. After hiking up the hill near my campsite in the morning, I hopped back on the bike and headed further into the park. I love this kind of American West, big sky, wide open spaces kind of riding. I had come to the park to expect peace, and I got it. I came expecting beauty, and I saw it. But no one had told me how wonderful the riding was through the park. I found this interesting outcropping of rocks and climbed up one and found this survey marker. These are objects placed to mark key survey points on the Earth's surface. They are used in geodetic and land surveying. There's a hobby that's grown up around finding them. My attempt at reenacting the Joshua Tree album cover. Pitiful, I know. I also came across this beautiful field of cholla cactus. Then I headed out of the park as I wanted to visit a couple of sites in nearby Palm Springs area. I love independent-owned businesses, and one place I love is in Indio, California, called Shields Date Farm. To me, dates are nature's caramel. They grow dates here, and you've got to try their date shake. It's out of this world. With the sun going down so early, I didn't get back to Joshua Tree until after sundown, and I did not see any bighorn while I was in the park, though I was looking for them. But perhaps that's a blessing. I certainly didn't want to see one crossing my path at night. Okay, a little fireside chat here on the second morning. Um, Forgive the noise in the background. My neighbor is an astronomer and is charging a battery for his telescope, which is pretty cool. One can forgive the noise for something that neat. Um, Shoes for a moto adventure like this. What I like to do is, of course, have something that works for riding on the bike and is robust enough. If you get in an accident, you want something that's going to protect your foot and ankle like a motorcycle boot. But I'm here at Joshua Tree and I like to go hiking. Motorcycle boots are not exactly the best thing to be hiking in. So what I'm a big fan of for one shoe to do it all is Keens. My Keen hiking boots are pretty high in the ankle, high enough to protect that kind of ball part in the pivot of your ankle. Not going to protect all the way up, but they also have a pretty hard rubber toe, but they breathe really well. They're reasonably water resistant, but I can walk in them for miles and miles and miles. This pair has seen better days, obviously, but big fan of these. They hold up really well. Oh, an arch support for a guy like me, and I have wide feet. They run wide if you need them to. It's just fantastic. I even wear them at home when I just go on walks around the neighborhood because they're so comfortable. So some protection on the bike, probably not as good as a motorcycle boot, but close enough to where I'm feeling a little bit better about my commitment to ATGAT and all the gear all the time, for those of you that don't know. And I can walk in them. One shoe for the whole trip. Love it. All right, so out for my morning hike. I like to hike in the morning because even in November, it'll get up to the mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit here in the desert. And, the sun, of course, can burn you. But if it's low, then the angle of it is such that it's going through more atmosphere. It's a bit more filtered and just less intense. Because what I don't like to do when I'm motocamping for a period of a few days without a shower is put on sunscreen, because then I gotta somehow get that off of me. But out for a beautiful hike. Wow. Let me show you this. The vistas are just amazing. But I wanted to share my experience yesterday. I meant to film quite a bit more yesterday and had some adventure. Where am I going here? Fork in the road. Going this way. Was intending to head to around the 29 Palms and Joshua Tree, the town area, and show you some of that. I indeed did go that route, but along the way, a tire plug in my tire, which I had repaired before I came on this trip, obviously gave way, and it gave way at a place where, I'm not kidding, if the winds weren't 75, 90 miles an hour crosswind across my road, I'd be surprised if they were something less than that. It was absolutely ripping. Now, this is an area, of course, where the wind is known to blow strong all the time. That's why they put up some very big wind farms there, and they've been some of the United States' original first serious wind energy farms. They've been there for a long time. I mean, 40 years or more. But let me figure out where I'm going here and I'll continue this story. Okay, I'm going to do the Mastodon Peak loop. Let me show you this fun stairwell. Well, that's interesting. Clearly water flows through that stream bed at times because those species of palms are not necessarily desert plants. They need a bit more water. There's cactus around here, so that's pretty cool. So I was in this crosswind and the bike is getting blown around anyways, and then I'm feeling the squirmy rear behind me, so the whole frame and the whole platform is just getting unstable, and slow down, pull over at the side of the road. Of course I'm prepared for this. I have a tire plug and I have an air compressor and rubber cement and a whole kit to repair this stuff on the side of the road. So I get to work doing that. Well, I'm at an age where my glasses are good for distance, but they're not good for close up. So I set my glasses down on the roadside. Oh, cool. And the wind blows them completely. I'll stand by this rock. Who put this rock here? The wind blows them out into the path of traffic in the roadway. I gotta go after them. While that's happening, my gloves are blowing out in another place. And it was just like a comedy act. But I start putting the plug in. Of course, I got my air compressor out. That's pumping. And it's a Harbor Freight cheap $5.99 air compressor. And get some air in the tire to where you can push the plug in. And I'm pushing and pushing, and it's taking so much force that I give it a little bit more, and then it just gives way and pops the tire plug completely to the inside of the tire. And I've lost it in there. So now I don't have any more tire plugs. So what did I do? I went looking around for something to plug my damn tire with. I'm at 38 miles from anything that could be of help. And I leave the air compressor going and start looking around for rubber. I cut with my knife a section of rubber off of my front tire with, on the sidewall where I'll never lean that far over anyways, and used that as a plug. And then it sort of held. It was leaking a little, but it was better than what it was without the plug. And then the air compressor craps out at about 20 psi. With it still leaking slightly, and there was the wire just broke loose internally on the thing, and I didn't have the equipment to repair that, and so I'm not recommending the Harbor Freight portable air compressors anymore. Spend a little more. And so I limped along in this god-awful wind with traffic, Southern California traffic. When they come by, they come ripping by 85, 90 miles an hour. I'm doing half that speed at an angle with that crosswind and a leaking rear tire that started with 20 psi in it, and I have no idea what it had. When I finally arrived 38 miles later at an auto parts store where I threw away my compressor in their trash can, bought a new portable air compressor that was more expensive and works, and got some new tire plugs. So I'm back in business, but that was an adventure. Meanwhile, I was just a little stressed by all of that and not messing around with filming. But that's adventure. That's how it goes. I will get home today. Now, let me finish my hike. Mastodon Mine is one of approximately 300 mines that were developed within Joshua Tree National Park. Records indicate the mine was established in the 1930s and worked on and off by the Halsey family for decades. Originally, the ore was assayed at $744 a ton. However, faulting had severed the main vein and it could not be relocated. Like many of the area mines, Mastodon Mine never lived up to the dream of striking it rich. And with that, my trip to Joshua Tree had ended. So that was quite an adventure. Cannot wait to go back to Joshua Tree. Maybe go in the car with my family, and definitely go back by myself on the V-Strom again. Motocamping, there's something so special about it, and I love the attention I get from other campers who see everything I've got set up and how I'm equipped as well as they are, but downsized, and got everything I need all there on the bike. And it's the coolest. And I guarantee riding through that park on that twisty road is way more fun on a Suzuki motorcycle than it is in a Winnebago or one of these other RVs. So there you go. Sorry to call out the Winnebago brand. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please, if you're into motorcycles, check out my book, Creating Mr. Corton. It's a memoir of how I got into motorcycling. It's a memoir of the build of my 1978 GS 550 Cafe Racer. It's a custom built motorcycle, and I show you every step of the way. But I talk about how I went about tackling that project in the book and the decision making behind it. And then it's also a tribute to my middle school shop teacher who got me interested in wrenching on machines and working with my hands and metals. So It's actually for sale on Amazon. You can find it on my website at urbanmonktv.com. Hey, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I put up additional videos on motorcycling or motocamping or wrenching on bikes and building custom bikes, everything that I do. Hey, thanks for watching.